In today's satsang, we are honoring the birth of Paramhansa Yogananda, which is actually on the 5th of January. But I don't think we are very wrong in honoring his birth today. In one of his talks on his birthday, Yogananda said that my age is infinite. In fact, I think not only is his age infinite, but also his births are infinite. Birth dates are infinite. And how is that? There is a beautiful story in the Srimad Bhagavad Puran, you may have heard of it, about this mighty elephant called Gajendra, who lives in these beautiful forests which are owned by the gods, by the devtas, and lots of divine beings live there. And he's a very, very strong elephant, and he has troops and troops of other equally mighty elephants under him, whom he rules over. So one day he goes to a lake to have his bath, and suddenly he gets attacked by a crocodile who catches hold of his leg and tries to pull him down. And all his elephants come, but nobody is successful in pulling him out of this grasp. Sometimes he kind of wins a little bit, comes out a little bit, then the next moment the crocodile pulls him down even further. And this goes on for eons, it is said. Eons and eons of this play is happening around. And then eventually, after some time, he pauses. He is now a little confused and bewildered. This has never happened to him before. He is used to using his strength in defeating every situation in life. Nobody has ever been able to challenge him. But now in this situation, he's confused. What's happening? He's bewildered. A little bit of anger, doubt starts to come in, and he feels, is there a possibility that I might actually die? Few more eons pass by, and after that, eventually, he realizes there is something wrong here. Now he realizes he is very tired and ready to give up, and he's close to death. I'm probably going to die, is his thought. And suddenly, a flash of insight, an inner light, a realization comes into his heart. And he completely surrenders and says, now all that can help me is God. And he prays to Lord Narayan that only your power is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. Please help me in this situation. And as he surrenders, he picks up this lotus from the lake with his trunk, offers it to Lord Narayan. In a flash, Lord Narayan appears, kills that crocodile, and saves Gajendra. I think this story has been put there as a metaphor for our own lives. We go through this eons and eons of suffering that Gajendra went through. And we go through these millions of lifetimes thinking that with our own power, with our own strength, we will fight against this world of Maya, like this crocodile. And we want all these things because we feel that the world is against us and we need to fight for desired objects, desired possessions, desired relationships. And we continue to use our strength and effort for it. And eventually, after millions of lifetimes, suddenly we start to realize again that there is something wrong here. And we start to get that fear. We start to feel helpless. And then again there is some kind of insight, that light of inner wisdom, the light of inner guidance, which gets kindled within us. And that is the birth of Paramhansa Yogananda within our hearts, within our consciousness. And when that happens, we start to look towards the light and we start to realize that everything we thought to be true was actually just an illusion. The strength and power that we thought was never our own. It was always the power of God, of gurus, that exists in this world. And as we start to tune in to this power, to this limitless source of strength, then we start to realize that we never were the doer. We were never the person making the effort. We are just instruments for this power to flow through us into this world. And when we have that realization, then we can achieve anything we want in this world. But is it necessary always for Yogananji to be born through suffering within us? No, that's not true. A lot of times insight can also come. Yesterday we had this New Year's retreat, and you all know Gaurav. He was leading this exercise on goal setting, and he was telling the participants that they need to put down their goals of the new year, their financial, health or material, etc., all the goals that they really wanted to achieve. And at the end of it, many goals later, at the end of it, a participant shared that as I was making these goals, I started to realize they are endless, they are pointless. They never end. I want this, then I want this, and then I want something else. And this new year is not enough for me to get them. It's going to require many, many years, and probably she realized countless lifetimes. And she said that realization just dawned. And it was so inspiring to see her. She was so overwhelmed with this insight. This was the birth of Guru within her. And she realized that first I need to follow my spiritual goals, and then the rest will be added unto me. So as Christ said, seek first the kingdom of God and the rest will be added unto you. And exactly that realization. And as we realize this, this little light, this guiding light within us gets kindled in us. But we also need to let it mature and grow. And how does that happen? Just by being very, very aware of this fledgling light within us, being aware of this Guru's presence within us and deeply attuning to it, seeking its guidance in everything that we do. Of course, we should pray to the Guru physically as well, but Paramhansa Yogananda said, I can help you the most from the inside. When you pray to me in your meditation to guide you, this Guru's consciousness inside of us can transform our own consciousness, expand our own consciousness till we get self-realization. So Swami Kriyananda, when he just had started on the path, he felt, he always used to feel, I'm very intellectual. And Master Yogananji would always tell him also, you need to get some devotion. And then Swamiji said that I really made a lot of effort to get devotion. He would chant a lot and he would do everything that Master told him to develop more and more devotion. And finally, one day he felt, I think I have got devotion to a certain extent. And then he's just heard Yogananji talking to some disciples. And Yogananji says, see how I have changed Walter, which was actually Swami Kriyananda's name earlier. So we really do nothing. All that effort, that power comes from that inner Guru's presence within us, which takes birth within us. So let's pray today deeply that Yogananji takes birth in us today and we always deeply attune to him and are guided by his light. Thank you.
In that same vein, I wish to share from Yoganandaji's own Whispers from Eternity, his beautiful poem, I Was Made for Thee. And please listen to these words. I was made for thee alone. I was made for dropping flowers of devotion gently at the feet, at thy feet, on the altar of the morning. My hands were made to serve thee willingly, to remain folded in adoration, waiting for thy coming, and when thou comest, to bathe thy feet with my tears. My voice was made to sing thy glory. My feet were made to seek thy temples everywhere. My eyes were made a chalice to hold thy burning love and the wisdom falling from thy nature's hands. My ears were made to catch the music of thy footsteps, echoing through the halls of space. and to hear thy divine melodies flowing through all heart tracks of devotion. My lips were made to breathe forth thy praises and thy intoxicating inspirations. My love was made to throw incandescent searchlight flames to find thee hidden in the forest of my desires. My heart was made to respond to thy call alone. My soul was made to be the channel through which thy love might flow uninterruptedly into all thirsty souls. And Guruji here gives us the attitude with which to have success, to walk the spiritual path. And it really offers us such a simple and clear pathway, a recipe for success and for happiness. I was made for thee, and my hands, my feet, my voice, my eyes, my ears, my lips, my heart, my soul, all of my faculties of expression, how can I use them in the best way? And he gives us the answer: to be a channel for the divine. My soul was made to be the channel through which thy love might flow uninterruptedly to all thirsty souls. Nayaswami Devarshi tells the story once when he had acute appendicitis and he didn't know what the problem was, but he was in extreme pain. He was in the emergency room waiting for the doctor, and he was doubled over in pain. It was all he could be aware of. And then at some point he became aware that there was someone else in the bed next to him. It was a young man who was unconscious. And this young man had family members around, and they were crying and they were pleading desperately for this young man not to leave his body. They felt that he was dying. And when Devarshi became aware of this, he began silently praying for the young man. And as he did so, he realized that his own unbearable pain was no longer so apparent. It wasn't at the forefront of his mind. It had subsided. It had receded to the background. He was simply being that channel. And the channel, as Yoganandaji said, is blessed by the love that flows through it. This is all we need to do. And this poem of Guruji also describes his own reason for coming to this earth, to be such a channel. And today we honor much more than a remarkable life, this soul that entered the world in 1893 and left it in 1952. But many people who knew Master, who even some of those who lived with him, they saw him only in terms of this remarkable person and having this remarkable life. And they would remember how sweet or how charming or how cute he was on different occasions. They saw him in terms of his personality. They couldn't imagine They felt that he had come just for a small group of disciples. They couldn't imagine that he had some world mission that was much greater than that. And we ourselves, it's hard to visualize just what the scope of that mission. Certainly his work, his influence in the world has become much larger since his passing than during his life. But he emphasized that these principles of universal Sanatana Dharma don't belong just to the yogis or one sect or one religion, but they need to be applied in all aspects of our lives, all aspects of practical life, in the workplace, in government schools, in the boardroom, in parliament, in the UN. All of these things can be influenced and improved by Sanatana Dharma. And he would speak to people on their own level like this, on a practical level, not just a metaphysical one. He worked with other spiritual leaders. He was in correspondence with Henry Ford on how to create communities for Ford's workers. He, before visiting Germany, he tried to meet with Adolf Hitler, who was in power at that time, and he said that he was the one, that Master was the one who planted the thought in Hitler's mind to start a second front in World War II with Russia, which eventually led to Hitler's downfall. And Master left us tremendous inspiration in his words as well, but we want to look beyond those words. We want to tune in to his inner presence that is already within us and be guided by that presence. And in this way, we live our lives and we live our spiritual lives, going towards God with the inner guidance of God and gurus. And very often this is subtle. When Guruji asked Swamiji to form a monastery and lead it, he didn't give him any details as to how to do it. He left it up to Swamiji with his intuition to tune in to Master's will and then to follow it in that way. When Lahiri Mahashaya asked several disciples to write commentaries on the Gita, he told them, I will guide your thoughts. Simply tune in to me. And I remember when I was Swamiji's secretary that I would be fascinated by some of his answers to people's questions. If it was not a devotee, he would explain very carefully and draw that person in. But when it was a devotee, very often his answer to a difficult question would just be a short sentence. He would make it so that we had to work towards the answer. We had to tune in inwardly, use our intuition and develop that, and to find the right way with his guidance. He never abandoned us. He would guide us, but inwardly. And we need to subtly tune into that. And in this way, the answers came. If he were to give a long, rational explanation, very likely the person would not change, because having an explanation, the mind finds every reason not to change. And that opening of the heart and opening, as Master said, all of our faculties to receive inner guidance. It comes through practicing these simple attitudes. I was made for thee alone. My hands were made to serve thee willingly. My heart was made to respond to thy call alone. And my soul was made to be that channel through which thy love might flow to all.